Okay, cycle number 19 as we're moving right along through the big book. We are still in the doctor's opinion, and that's quite all right. I want to go line by line and really try to pull whatever we can out of this information and to apply it to our lives, because this is life and death, and we have to always remember that. So it's important that we continue to show up and go through this book and point people to God and the Bible and what you can learn from the big book, and working the steps and getting connected to God, and then taking other people through that process, because it's really what's good for you. The best thing for you to treat this internal condition is being conscious of others and working with others and sharing with others what you've been so freely giving. And so that's what keeps you healthy inside more than anything else. It's a biblical principle, of course. The whole law summed up in that is treat others as you would want to be treated. And so we have to continue to make ourselves available to people. So the whole point of this is to get off this cycle, which has been so heavy, in the spiritual malady that we didn't even know we had, this feelings of depression and anxiety, these things that are plaguing the world, and people don't know what to do with anxiety and depression, so they go to doctors and they get prescribed pills and different things and talk through, and if you could only treat your spirit with God, that a lot of this stuff would straighten out. And knowing that is just so powerful, you know. There's these feelings that manifest as being restless, irritable, and discontented, you know. To be discontented, to be not okay with who you are and where you're at, and you're entitled and complaining and murmuring without it being even warranted, you know. It's like you're healthy, you have all these capabilities, you live in America, and yet your life is in the gutter, and you're just a joke like I was, you know. And it's just like, what is that, you know? Could it be it's a spiritual thing that internally you're not okay? And if you treat yourself internally with God and these things of God that we're going to talk about, that you will straighten out and you won't be plagued like you were with anxiety and depression and feelings of uselessness, that you will have some fulfillment in your life and some purpose in your life as you connect with your Creator. And that's how this stuff is going to go away. You don't need pills. You don't need to go just talk through your problems all day long. That brings the focus back on self. And if selfish and self-centeredness is the problem, we got to move away from some of that, right? And we start going to the solution. And we'll get to some of the solution as we do every time we talk. So let's start off with the scripture about what we're seeking after. We're seeking after peace, are we not? Seeking after peace. And the opposite of some of this stuff, to how the spiritual malady manifests with depression, anxiety, being restless, irritable, discontented. We're trying to move away from that stuff and move towards the good stuff that happens when we connect with God. So start off with John 14:27.
I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid.
Here's what God's saying. I'm trying to give you this peace that only I can give you. The world can't give you the peace you're looking for, to be okay inside. We're trying to be okay inside. Once we're okay inside, what's going on outside, we can enjoy and have in this proper place and perspective. We keep thinking, if we get our external world put in place, like stop being homeless, get a place to live, get that girlfriend, boyfriend we've always wanted, get the job and the car, if that stuff is just situated, that we're going to be okay. But that stuff doesn't fix you inside. Inside is why you're not okay. And we have to address this on a daily basis. If you don't stay spiritually fit internally, then it doesn't matter about having this stuff, external stuff. At first, you'll be so excited about it. The girl of my dreams, the guy of my dreams. I landed that job. Praise God. I got a car back, and I got a place to live. And for a while, you get temporary ease and comfort from those things, but you won't get fulfillment. You see, we're after fulfillment. We want to be content where we are and who we are, and know who we are, right? That we are created by God to know Him and for Him. And until we surrender to that, we won't be okay inside. So let's read contentment. The opposite of discontentment is contentment. Okay, this is what only God can bring this contentment into our life when we seek this relationship with him, and we start treating our inside, our spirit with God. It says this: contentment, a state of having acceptance to one's situation, fulfillment, restfulness, ease, and peace. That peace that we're all looking for, that only God can give. Man, this stuff is so much greater than anything the world can offer. This peace that only comes from God, and being able to rest and be at ease, be comfortable in your own skin. I was never comfortable in my own skin. I was always thinking about what I could go do and what I didn't have, and I need to do this and do that. I couldn't just sit and be comfortable where I am, especially if you're on the right path. If God has moved in your life and put you in a place where he wants to work on you and take you somewhere, you have to accept that. Our minds are so opposite, and we want to self-destruct our lives that we can't even see, and we can't even accept that God has us in a place where he's working on us. And he's going to bring us, and we're going to have the peace and the contentment we've always been looking for. And that process has begun. But if you're fighting the process, you can't accept it. You're trying to rush to the next thing. If you can't be content now where you are, you getting out of here or you getting to your next accomplishment, you think the contentment's going to come, but it doesn't. Temporarily, maybe for a minute, because you accomplished something, but it doesn't last. You got to be content now, today, to be content tomorrow or where you're going in the near future. Okay? Let's see what else this says. So we want to understand these words. They focus on the beauty of life rather than the ugliness of life. That's what being discontented is, murmuring when you have no business to murmur. Complaining about something you have no business complaining about. God's moving in your life and positioning you, but it goes against what we really want to do. But what we want to do has always kept us on this cycle and brought a lot of destruction and bad things into our life, getting our own way. That's selfish and self-centeredness. We want to surrender that on a daily basis, and we want to, focus on the beauty of life rather than the ugliness of life. And you have to fight for that perspective every morning, and thankfulness will come and will open you up to God and the things of God. This is like a daily approach. And we'll talk to that. We'll get on that a little bit. We'll end on that when we talk about the solution and staying in these three parts again. We got to keep reminding what it means to stay in the three parts, because we have a three-part disease, right? In the mind, the body, and the spirit. So we have to address each part on a daily basis, and we're going to be healthy and fit, spiritually fit inside, and be able to be content and be at ease with where we are. Be comfortable in our own skin. That's something that the world can't give. As we just read, Ivan over here just read that this peace is something that only God can give. The world can't give it. And we keep looking towards things of the world to find it. We think if we get this and get that, these external X's, that we're going to be okay inside. But we're not. Being okay inside is what we have to seek over everything. Okay, then the last little piece of the definition of contentment is they experience life rather than analyzing it. You know, we spend so much time analyzing life, overanalyzing life, that we don't experience it. We're never in the moment, in the present moment, where God is and where life is. We're always in the past, or more so probably in the future. I can't wait to get here, get there. It's going to be awesome. We're in there using our imagination to play it up like it's going to be this now. If I only get over there next summer, it's going to be so awesome. I'm going to be out free and this and that or whatever, okay? So we need to experience life rather than overanalyzing it. Learning from your mistakes instead of dwelling on them. Learning to let go of things you can't control instead of holding on to it. You see, it's like, learn from your mistakes. Stop making the same mistakes over and over again. Stop these broken promises. You keep making firm resolutions that you're going to do this and that and not do that. Stop making these broken promises. Decide to do something different and actually listen and seek God on a daily basis. Stay in the three parts. Don't forget who God is and where he's taking you from out of that Egypt. And then when he takes you out of Egypt, what happens? Then he feeds you. Hosea 13:6. He feeds you and takes care of you, and then you forget about him. Hosea 13:6. He pulls you out of Egypt, introduces himself, you get to know him, takes care of all your physical needs, starts to treat your spirit. All these things start falling in place in your life. You get positioned back, and then your pride, it says your pride builds. We got to watch for our ego rebuilding itself, forgetting, and then you forget about God. And then what happens when you forget about God in your daily approach? You end up back on this cycle. Oh, no, not me. No. I've got too much self-knowledge of the way this works now. I would never, ever, ever. I've come too far. But that day, letting your guard down, letting your ego rebuild, thinking you're further along than you actually are, was what happens when people end up back on the cycle. That's what we're trying to avoid. How about another verse that talks about this? 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18.
Always be joyful, never stop praying, be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus.
What is God's will for us? Everybody asks, I don't know, it's just so crazy. Like, what does it mean? What is God's will for my life? Well, that verse kind of broke it down. God's will for our life is to be joyful in all circumstances, to be content and accepting where we are and what God's doing in our life, being willing to listen and open up our minds and our hearts to something different. It's like our old way of thinking, we just grasp onto it. And as soon as we position ourselves to get back in control in our life, we go into it and we end up back on this cycle, right? Your old way of thinking has to go. That's the decision you're making that stops the broken promises. Because if you continue to think the same, you'll get the same results. It's like we're willing to throw away something that doesn't work, correct? The Bible kind of talks about this where, say you had a remote control that was outdated and didn't work. You like trying to change the channels. Like, this thing doesn't work, but I refuse to get rid of it. I'm going to hold on to it to my dying day. I know it does not work, just like your old way of thinking clearly doesn't work. Look at where you are. Look where you keep ending up back on the cycle. But you refuse to get rid of your old way of thinking. There's certain things that you know are right, and I've accomplished this before, and my way of thinking worked for that period of time in my life, and my granddaddy and my pappy taught me how to think this way. I'm going to hold on to it. But it's not getting you anywhere. And you're not willing to let go of it and think that you don't know everything, and you let God start to change your thinking by the renewing of your mind. You know, getting the word up here, and we'll start to line up more with God's thoughts and God's ways, which are not your thoughts or your ways. And we got to get rid of our old way of thinking in order for there to be change. You can't change until you change the way you think, and you keep staying on the cycle. So that's God's will for us, to be joyful and content in all circumstances for those who are in Christ. When you surrender yourself to God and you have this personal daily relationship with God, that's what enables you. God's Spirit comes in and fills this void, and your spiritual eyes and ears and heart are open. You can draw near to God. He draws near to you. You're in the Word. You're praising and worshiping Him, and you're in prayer, and you're making yourself available for people. That right there is how you can have joy in any circumstance. Without that daily, close, intimate relationship with God, it's impossible for that scripture. To be joyful in all circumstances, that's God's will for your life. To be content, not discontented. To be at ease with peace, not restless. To have patience in your life and be willing to be of service to others, not irritable. It's because of our self-centered focus and selfishness, that all this stuff has a breeding ground to come and attack us. And we're wondering what's wrong with us and how do we get out of this? And the answer is dying to self each and every day. What was the price that had to be paid? The destruction of self-centeredness. And that's a daily approach. And when that happens, miracles start to happen. Okay. Let's go back to our readings on Doctor's Opinion. XXX, we left off about halfway down the page. And, it was talking about psychopaths and having manic depressive types and bipolar and a lot of the stuff that's just misdiagnosed spiritual malady. What an amazing thing to know that most of it is misdiagnosed spiritual malady. And when you treat the spiritual malady, you straighten out in these areas. How awesome is that? I never knew any of this. I'm not a doctor. I just know that that's been misdiagnosed. And when people treat it, they straighten out. No pills, nothing. It's crazy. It's so awesome. So, here we go. So, leading into this. Then there are types entirely normal in every respect, except in the effect alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, and friendly people. Wow. You ever met people like that? Addicts and alcoholics? You remove them from the drugs and the alcohol, and all these talents and gifts start coming out. They're very personable. They're ready to serve. And there's just these talents that these people have. And you just think like, wow, if that person could just stop drinking and using, they could accomplish so much. They're so intelligent and talented, but the drinking and the using stops anything from happening good in their life. So you think like, wow, this is very interesting. Well, why not just stay away? Just stay away from the drugs and alcohol. And this is where we are. We're trying to figure this out. All these talents, all this purpose, all this potential, except for the fact you cannot stop drinking and using. And that's why we're trying to understand what's behind alcoholism and drug addiction. And it's laid out beautifully what's behind it. That this right here is alcoholism and drug addiction. In a nutshell. It's the spiritual malady. Once you address this on a daily basis and you stay spiritually fit, you never relapse. You never go back to drugs and alcohol. You never go back on this cycle again. But you let up on your approach and you're guaranteed to go back on this cycle. Guaranteed. So like ding, 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 we have a solution. We have a way out of addiction. And just to think that all these talents and then a lot of people have died in their addiction and all that lost potential and all that wasted life. But nobody else has to. Okay? Let's move on. Let's read on. It says, all these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomena of craving. Okay? This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy, which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. Okay? So as we're understanding what's going on behind the scenes, it moves us to this second piece, the body piece, that we are genetically set up differently than other people. A lot of people have this bug, but some don't. That's why some of your brothers and friends and uncles and aunts and whoever's can have their beer and their wine and smoke their weed and be okay, right? I don't suggest that for anybody, but hey, I'm talking to the people, the qualified alcoholic addict, the real McCoys, who cannot, under any circumstance, control it and enjoy it. I'm talking to those people. So there's just something in us, once we put it in our body, it sets off the phenomenon of craving where we go on this spree. We don't have control over it. And we keep running into these truths and consequences, even when it stopped being fun, and we emerge remorseful, firm resolution, all the broken promises in the world. We have this space where we're fighting it, white knuckling it. I know I'm not supposed to drink and use, but internally I'm coming apart at the seams because I didn't know that alcoholism and drug addiction was spiritual malady, my selfish and self-centeredness that I have to treat on a daily basis. And so I eventually give in to the lie, the thought, and I'm back on the cycle. And that's how I lived my life for 2 decades, 20 years. I didn't know this information. I didn't know I had spiritual malady. I didn't know that only God was going to get me out of this, you know? And so here we go, trying to understand what goes on in us. Why is that phenomenal craving in us and not in others? Why can other people stop because they know they got to get up and go to work, but we go through the whole weekend into Tuesday before we realize what's going on? Could there be that peace, right? And so we got to understand, they break it down as an allergy, right? A physical allergy. Yeah, and for whatever reason, we just can't handle it. And we have to know that, right? So it says this: it has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief we have to suggest is what? Entire abstinence. This happening in our bodies, which we've proven over and over with our own history, our own lives, there's nothing that's going to eradicate it and heal it. It always is going to be there. You know, you yourselves, or you know people who have stayed away, and as soon as they go back to it, the disease progresses and you're right back where you left off in a very short period of time. It's never going to go away. It's never going to be eradicated. There's this thing when we put it in our body where it's going to set off an allergy, and then we're going to be off to the races. Okay? It's the same thing like being allergic to peanuts or shellfish. It never goes away. As soon as you eat shellfish, your body reacts differently. Your throat closes up. You got to be rushed to the ER. You're about to die. Same thing with putting drugs and alcohol in our body. There's something that reacts differently in us, and you have to be able to accept that for yourself. Not because I'm telling you. You have to, in your own honesty, say, yes, that is me. I'm not willing to risk putting a sip of anything or smoking a joint ever again in my body, or getting hurt and taking a Vicodin because the doctor said it's okay, you should take it, you're hurt. No, ibuprofen. I'm not even risking it, setting off this allergy, because my life is too good now to risk any of that. And I need to stay connected to God in those three parts in order to ensure that I'm never going to go back to my old ways. So understanding this, what's going on in you, is very important. But check this out. On page 39 of the big book, watch what it says. This is very important. Page 39 of the big book. I don't see how far down it is. You'll find it. It's like in the middle of the page. It says this: but the actual or potential alcoholic, with hardly an exception. Did you see that? With hardly an exception, meaning most everybody, check this out, if not everybody, will absolutely be unable to stop drinking on a basis of self-knowledge. So on the basis of self-knowledge, understanding what's going on, looking at the cycle and saying, wow, I never knew I had a spiritual malady. I never knew that my body was different. When I put it in, I can't control it. There's times where I do control it, but not every time. You see? Don't fool yourself with those couple of times you did go have the 2 beers. So that's very important to state. But for the most part, I can't control it. And now I know that, okay, I got to look out for triggers and be careful, and I don't want to get important. So all this self-knowledge of what's going on is not going to keep you off this cycle. Okay? That's important to understand, because that happens a lot. That's why they give the warnings in here. Wow, I never knew that. I never heard that. This is very interesting. It kind of explains what's going on in me. But that self-knowledge alone will not keep you sober. Let's read on. Watch what it says. The bottom of XXX, the doctor's opinion, back there. The very bottom paragraph. It says, this immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Okay? Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. They've come to the conclusion over years and years of study, over your own experience, my own experience in history of being on this cycle, no matter what, going back on it. The consequences didn't matter to me. I lost everything, and I still stayed on this cycle. I just ran to it. Why? Why would you keep running to something that doesn't work? You know, just running and running. Because I came to this place right in my life where I got here. Watch where I got. This is so crazy. I got to the place at first, I treated this internal condition with alcohol and drugs. It fixed me for a time. The fear went away. I was confident. I would go get the job, talk to the girl. It was working. I was having a ball and a blast. But it got to the place where it stopped being fun. And the disease started progressing, more truth and consequence. I became such a loser in the gutter that when I drank, I wasn't okay. I was miserable. But then, for me not to drink and use, I was more miserable. So if I'm drinking and using, what used to work for a time wasn't really working for me. And if you stop using early on, you better believe that the disease was going to progress. You just may have got saved early on. It was already progressing in your life if you can notice it. But if you left it unattended, it was going to progress like it always does, okay? But if I was drinking, I was miserable. But to remove the alcohol and drugs from me, I was more miserable. What am I to do? I'm in a bad spot. I'm drinking and using, my life sucks. If I'm not drinking and using, I'm going crazy in here and coming apart at the seams. My malady's acting up. I'm restless, irritable, discontented. I'm plagued with depression and anxiety and feelings of uselessness. I am not in a good spot, whether I'm drinking or not drinking. Man, do you see what I'm saying? So here we are. And it's saying, when you're there, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. I'm just doomed. I'm in the hopeless variety. I got the mind of a chronic alcoholic addict. I keep going back to this no matter the consequences, no matter how many broken promises. I keep going back, keep going back. What are we going to do? Let's talk about what we're going to do, okay? We always bring solution to every one of our meetings. And why don't you go follow me to the next page up top. XXXI, the doctor's opinion. And it reads,
the solution.
What is the solution? We're going to talk about the solution. Because without this solution, if you can admit to yourself and you see your life and your experience, you are doomed without this solution. And let me hit it home a little bit harder before we talk about the solution. Turn with me to page 25. Let's see what the big book says. These two choices we have. If you've accepted this as truth and you're honest with yourself, you see your life in there, you can't seem to get off, you're attacked with depression and anxiety and these lies, you can't tell the difference between lies and the truth, the battles ensuing in the mind, you're sitting in a terrible spot. You've been on this cycle, your feelings of uselessness, it's just a terrible place to be. The malady's got a real hold of you, and so we need only one solution is going to get us out of that situation. And here's the two choices we have. Page 25, are you ready? Last paragraph, page 25. If you are as seriously alcoholic as we were, we believe there is no middle-of-the-road solution. Wow. So if you've been honest, and you are alcoholic addict, like I know I am, if you've been honest with yourself, there's no middle-of-the-road solution. There's only this one solution, and without it, we're seeing, if you decide for yourself that you are absolutely doomed. You're miserable when you drink and use. You're miserable, even more miserable when you don't. You can't seem to pull anything out of life anymore. So there's no middle-of-the-road solution. We were in a position, watch this, where life was becoming impossible. The maladies got us so hard. All the depression, anxiety, the irritability, the discontentment, the feelings of uselessness, all that stuff, the fear, the lies up here. We can't tell the difference between the truth and the false. And life is becoming impossible, right? Think about where you were. That hopeless state. And that's not you. That's not where you were supposed to be. But you got there. I got there. Okay? Now check this out. Here's your choices. Life was becoming impossible, and we had passed into the region from which there was no return through human aid. We're in this place, stuck. There's no getting out of it through human aid. What does that mean? No human approach, no human power, no human thought, no human pill. Nothing is going to get you out of this through human aid. Okay? Let's see what else it says. We had but two alternatives. Okay? You had two choices. One was to go on to the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best as we could. Did you hear that? So this choice, I stayed on here for 20 years. Blotting out my miserable existence. My life had become so futile and just hopeless and pitiful. I could continue on taking the drugs and alcohol that don't even really work anymore, trying to stay off. I'm still miserable. My feelings of uselessness, depression, anxiety that grips me. I have no direction in life. All my relationships are shot. Now, I could continue on in that. Or, what else? And the other is to accept spiritual help. There it is. Many, many people can't just surrender to the process and open up on their own timing and accept the spiritual help that God's trying to give you. Maybe you don't recognize it as what it really is. Because there's these lies going on and just self-delusion, deception, where you're not seeing and understanding what position you're in, how blessed you are. Instead, you're restless, irritable, and discontented. And you're not understanding what God's trying to do in your life. And it's hard for people to accept spiritual help. But you've got two choices. You can continue on with the life you've been living, and it's going to end in jail and death. You're doomed. Okay, sorry to say. I know I was too. Or you can accept spiritual help. Watch this. This we did because we honestly wanted to and were willing to make the effort. So, you can't force this on anybody. You give them time to respond and realize that you have two choices. You're going to continue on the way your life was. You know how your life was. I know how my life was. There's nothing good that came of it. It was so just meaningless and pitiful and sad and heavy, and I had so much baggage. I was so barred down by all this, and I accepted spiritual help because God put me in a place and opened me up, and it was tough. I took a month or so before I was out.